Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Star Wars Police for all your Star Wars news content and other theories. Today, I want to talk about, is Baylan Skoll more cunning, and is he the actual architect? If you haven't already, make sure you force choke and like that subscribe button. It'll help the channel out greatly as I'm trying to grow more and more. A deep dive into the Ahsoka show, you have to really wonder how Baylan Skoll is actually evil or not, and if he is really the mastermind about going to Peridea. Now, I think there's a few hints as to why I think this is possible and what his motives actually are. Now, can we initially say that Baylan Skoll is evil? I don't really think so. His motives don't appear to be evil, and he just isn't bloodthirsty and bloodlust where he's out just killing everyone. But his initial interaction, we see him go to a Republic ship, and he appears to be just a working mercenary, retired Jedi working for Morgan Elsbeth, aka working for Thrawn. However, when we see his first interaction and he identifies himself as not a Jedi and he busts out this sunburst orange lightsaber, we initially think, oh, it's somewhat red, so he is possibly evil. However, it is not the crimson red that we know from Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Darth Sidious, and whatnot. So it does give us that initial change of, he might not is as it appears to be. That being said, we know Dave Filoni did talk previously before the show was released that this was intentional and he did want it to have some sort of connection. Now, Skoll appears to be working for Morgan Elsbeth on face value. However, there is some underlying play on this. And throughout the show, we do hear him talk about the pathway to Peridea. It comes from old stories as a Jedi. And so obviously he has some greater knowledge of this, and we, maybe haven't seen this yet in the show, or it hasn't been revealed yet. So throughout the show, he's trying to get to Peridea. He's working with Morgan Elsbeth, and he's also at the same time fighting Ahsoka. His main goal doesn't appear to be eliminating Ahsoka, or as well as Sabine Wren. And he states at one point in the show, for some, war, others, a new beginning. So this to me means that he is looking for a new beginning. Now, when he's talking to his Padawan, Shin, he mentions that when he was younger, he watched his whole world get destroyed. So he knew the Jedi Order to be his life. He obviously was taken as a young child and raised in the traditional way of the Jedi Order with no emotion, no attachment, nothing like that. Now, is it quite possible that as he's grown older, he has found in his exile some training, some new information, some new knowledge that could potentially bring his version of the balance of the Force? Now, we all know that the Galactic Republic was corrupt. It was corrupted by Emperor Palpatine or Darth Sidious. However, we see in the shows like Andor, The Mandalorian, that a lot of the politicians are really corrupt, and they are, they allowed this corruption to take place. So Count Dooku, who was a royal member, a noble member, as well as a part of the Jedi Order, he turned to not necessarily the dark side. I wouldn't necessarily call him a Sith, but he did venture off with the Separatists because he didn't appreciate the value of the Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic at the time. So throughout the show, Baylan Skoll has battles with Ahsoka, and he calls her out for abandoning her master, and he also states other things like it'd be a shame to eliminate her, and there are so few Jedi left. Meaning that he doesn't want to destroy the Jedi. I think he just really wants to recreate something new. Now, in his initial battle, he bested her by far. I know Ahsoka was distracted by trying to get the star map. However, he could have easily eliminated her and killed her at that time, but he just gave her a glancing blow that took her off the cliff, which just assumed that maybe she did die or perish or whatnot. But maybe his goal wasn't to strictly, basically end her with the lightsaber. So he makes another quote. He often says things that are kind of open-ended statements. And he says, one must destroy to be able to create. And then he makes a vow with Sabine because he identifies that Sabine is also a Force user. I don't know if she's considered to be Force sensitive or not, because it kind of changed with the Metachlorians and that kind of lore with this. So it was kind of confusing how that worked out. But he did identify that Sabine is a Force user, and he didn't really want to eliminate her when she really had no value to Baylan Skoll or Thrawn or anything like that. And really connecting Ezra to Sabine would have been worse for Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth at the time. So when he arrives on Peridea with his apprentice Shin, that's where he mentions his comments about losing everything and whatnot.
When I was a bit older than you are now, I watched everything I knew burn. Couldn't make sense of it at the time. As you get older, look at history, you realize it's all inevitable. Fall of the Jedi, rise of the Empire. It repeats again and again and again.
But he lets her go because he thinks that Shin has a different path, and he states, impatience for victory guarantees defeat. And I think that he's been planning this since the destruction of the Jedi Order through Order 66, that he actually is planning on revamping the entire Jedi Order, the way the Force works, into a more of a gray area where it's both light and dark, and we're not sheltering ourselves from the light only and keeping the dark away, but I think he wants to embrace the full aspects of the Force. Now, at the end of the show, we see him standing on the father statue of the Ancient Mortis gods. And I think that it is possible that he is trying to somehow take this this power that Anakin initially turned down in the Clone Wars animated series. And I think that Baylan sees a balance in the Force, and what he's doing isn't necessarily evil, but it's a necessary step to take to bring what he believes will be the best for the galaxy. As we all know, like, he was a Jedi Knight, and he was brought up in this world of being having. We all know that he was brought up in this world of being righteous and defending and whatnot. So I think that he has kind of perverted his own future sense based off of the trauma that he has faced through Order 66. So I really think Baylan Skoll's main goal was to trick Morgan Elsbeth to taking him to Peridea the whole time, and that he was actually using Morgan Elsbeth and Thrawn to get out to that planet in that part of the unknown galaxy to retrieve this power that he's looking for of the ancient Mortis gods. Now, another thing too, but which I find interesting, that he does want Thrawn to go back to the main galaxy to basically destroy the current Republic. And I think that would be a great explanation as to how the First Order kind of gained power from the end of Return of the Jedi to The Force Awakens, because there's really an unknown time period there where we see in The Mandalorian that the Republic is in power of Coruscant and the Republic. But we see in The Force Awakens that Kylo Ren's there, as well as General Hux, and they have a huge mass army of the new First Order stormtroopers and whatnot. So I think that him doing this allows Thrawn to kind of destroy the meta that is the current galaxy politics, and he does have plans to come back and be the new superpower, maybe even after the Sith Eternal Emperor, as well as Snoke at the time of the first movie. So this could be maybe even part of the new Rey movie that's coming out down the line, of who the new threat is. We see in the old Republic stories, Star Wars: The Old Republic, of Darth Vitiate, he had his own empire in the unknown regions, and nobody even knew about it from the main galaxy. So we say in the Star Wars opening sprawl, in a galaxy far, far away, but there's so many galaxies that are unknown. There's so much lore that we could potentially tap into, and I think this would be a great lead into having Baylan Skoll be that next power. And it is very unfortunate that Ray Stevenson passed away, because I think he was, a main love of this show. I think everyone liked him as a character because he was unique. He was a great created character in the new Star Wars Disney era, which we haven't really seen too much. The shows have been pretty kitted down, and they haven't been the greatest. So it is too bad that he did pass away, and I hope that they do an excellent job of, you can't ever recast him, but make sure that his legacy lives on with that character, with someone who is as good at portraying Baylan Skoll. Now, what do you guys think? Am I way off on this? Is this really obvious, or what? Like, is he going to be the next main villain in the show? Because I truly believe that he set up Thrawn to go back to the main galaxy so that they could really fight with the New Republic and destroy each other, so that he could then create his own power and then come back and take over and create his order under his own banner. So let me know what you guys think. Is this crazy? Is he going to be the main protagonist in the new show for Ahsoka season 2? Or is it just going to be kind of a back burner side story? Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for checking me out. Again, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out quite a bit. Thanks. Take care.